Welcome back, everybody, to the Aaron's High Cap Adventure Radio program. Again, it's August 5th, 2017, and we've been having a wild show, and it's going to continue on. And to my left is a special guest. I was very lucky and blessed to...
Extra special guest.
Extra special guest. I was very lucky and blessed to have her be able to fill in. We were wanting to get her on the show for quite a while, but she's in Houston all the time, and she happened to be here today just when we had a cancellation of our other interview due to medical reasons. So I hope that person gets better, and we'll get them on at a later date. But today, I have Janay Goodman. She teaches culinary arts and gardening along who? Kelly.
That's Miss Kelly Carviez. She's my mentor and coworker.
Very good. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you read this here, because I can't see it on my glasses on.
All right. Well, I am in Houston, Texas at Hogg Middle School as well as Gregory Lincoln Education Center. I have recently graduated from the Culinary Institute of America, so I'm looking at furthering my education as well as teaching students currently for culinary and urban gardening.
I've had nothing but rave reviews of you from somebody very special who happens to be like 3 feet away from me. And who might that be?
I am legitimately your biggest fan.
Yeah. It's pretty accurate.
Well, we got you on here for a very important reason. This show really used to be in a prepping, and it's going all over the place. And one of the things and aspects of prepping was, look, I think all of us in our lives, sometime or another, unless you've got the silver spoon in hand, have had to struggle with money and food.
Absolutely,
I know there was a
yes.
point in time in my life when I had to slice grapes to let them go, to make them last longer. I almost like questioned myself, why did I buy the grapes in the first place? But if I'm going to buy them, I'm going to slice them up and suck on them until I get all the juice out. Then I'll swallow. Then I get cheese and slice it so thin it's almost like copy paper. You can see through it just to get the taste of it. All right? So everybody's been there. But we've had discussions. I've had discussions with Trey and you about food and how we can manage our money and still eat well. And you got some great ideas. You gave me a list of things here. We're going to go all over the place, and we've got maybe 20 minutes to talk about it. So let's talk about this. Why don't you give me an overview of what I just said and where you want to go with this, and then I'll start asking questions.
All right. So basically, I have a good handful of tips and tricks for you to save money in the grocery store as well as in your household. So in a nutshell.
And you're educated, not like me. I'm just an idiot.
Yes,
so
quite educated.
We're going to be... We're not just talking, this, that, or the other, although that comes into play, your
Right.
personal experiences.
Right.
You've studied this. You know what you're doing.
Yes.
So I guess let me ask a question here. You're talking about rewards coupons at the grocery stores. How can that affect somebody? Oh, wait, first of all, before we do that, I also mentioned this. I said, let's talk about 2 categories of people. You've got one category of people who are... They can get some stuff. They got a little extra funds available to maybe get more important things when it comes to food. And then the other category is, man, they're just making it day by day on how to eat. And they really need to stretch their money out and their food out. So let's, I guess, on both topics, say what's a good thing for one category and may not be good for another, so on and so forth. But the first question is rewards, coupons at the grocery store.
All right. Well, all of these tips are going to kind of dip out of both classes there. As far as rewards and coupons at the grocery store, oftentimes they're free and you can find them in your sale papers. Just check for different sales going on around the store. You can check online. You can check your daily newspaper, just about anywhere, really. I mean, there's no shame in saving a few bucks by using coupons.
I've heard people who use coupons, they almost end up getting paid by the store.
Oh, yeah.
Explain how that
couponing.
explain how that works?
I have never done any extreme couponing, but I've seen it done where I've seen people leaving a store with 20 items and they walk away paying absolutely nothing.
It's incredible. I know.
Right. So do your research. I mean, it pays off in the long run for sure.
Now, I want to say something too. People who are in these categories, money's real tight, but it's come in the day and age where a cell phone's almost a mandatory item just because of safety and all this kind of stuff, and a lot of things we've been discussing. So what about online coupons? Because I know a lot of times I'll go into like a Staples or maybe a Hobby Lobby and I just whip up the coupon and there it is.
Exactly. So a lot of those you do have to be careful with. Sometimes they do recommend that you print the coupon just in case they don't take them when you get to the store. But a lot of times, most stores actually have rewards programs on their own that you can download on your smartphone. For instance, H-E-B has all of their coupons online. Kroger has a rewards program. As he mentioned, Michaels has a rewards program. So a lot of those coupons are actually sent right to your inbox or right to your smartphone.
Okay, very good. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've got a good story out there about a coupon, dealing with coupon, no, I've seen it happen. It's incredible. If you can say, well, I went to the store because they're having a special and I turned this back in and I got double this and I used that and I ended up walking out and people were patting me on the back because I broke the bank over there. Give us a call, 254-697-6633. Okay, let's talk about buying in bulk. It's cheaper in the long run and freezing anything you can if you're not going to eat it in 3 days. Let's talk about that.
Yes, so buying in bulk definitely saves you a lot more money because of the fact that you're buying more basically with less money. So a lot of times those larger packages that you look at, they're not pre-packaged, so you will have to package them yourself. However, you're saving so much more per pound than you would if they had packaged it themselves. A lot of times, some of those extra dollars just come from the fact that someone else is doing the work for you.
Is it true in every case you buy it in bulk? I've seen it where sometimes it doesn't happen. Is that a common occurrence, or is it just every now and then that happens where you think you're buying in bulk and saving money, but in reality it's not?
I would honestly say that it depends from case to case. Definitely look at the product that you're buying. A lot of the times, just look at the size, and that'll tell you if it's a good deal or not. My mom and I actually go to the store and we'll look at the small tag next to the items to see how much it is per ounce for the item to see if we're actually saving money or wasting money.
You gotta look at that stuff too. Like the tags are there on the product is giving away all the secrets. Okay.
So it's right next to the price of the item.
I buy guns, I buy bullets. I don't buy food, so I'm learning as we go. Talk about the freezing aspect of it.
Freezing.
And talk about freezing and maybe dehydration and what's the other one? Dry freezing?
Yes. So basically you are preserving your own foods. So if you don't care to buy pickles all the time, you can always preserve your own. That saves you a lot of money in the long run. For instance, instead of buying a $2 jar of pickles, you can get a cucumber for 30 cents and, vinegar and pickling liquid and call it a day. And you can use that pickling liquid multiple times.
That's cheap too. Vinegar's real cheap.
Exactly. And cucumbers aren't the only things that you can pickle. I mean, you can pickle all kinds of different produce.
Well, let's go back to our categories again. The bulk purchasing, I wouldn't expect somebody on a day-to-day aspect being able to do that, right?
Right. So if you can't buy in bulk, I mean, there's no shame in that. For instance, you can always buy frozen products, or if you're really on a tight budget, canned products. Personally, I prefer frozen over canned, but I mean, when you're in a pinch, you're in a pinch.
That's right. Got to eat. You're talking about freezing and prepping food for the week. You want to pack your lunch for the week so you aren't tempted to go out for lunch.
Yes.
Let's talk about that in depth.
I am just as guilty of this, but before you go to the store, just plan what you're going to eat for that week. Look for products that you can use in multiple dishes. For instance, you can use a chicken and use that for your entire lunch for the week. You can make chicken and dumplings. You can make fajitas. You can make different types of soup. I mean, the possibilities are pretty much endless. It just requires that you put in that prep work. Not to mention that these meals are freezable after you make them. So they're easy to just pop in the microwave and go.
I want to throw a question at you. I didn't tell it to you before, and you don't have to answer it now. I want you to think about it. I work another job, and I'm constantly on the road. And the last thing I want to deal with is a Tupperware full of soup, macaroni, bring silverware, and all this kind of stuff. If you know this off the top of your head, go ahead and say it. If not, we'll come to it later.
Okay.
But what is good food on the run? I'll give you one example of what I'm trying to get across. A banana is self-packaged.
Right.
Once I'm done it, it's gone. But I don't have to worry about, like I just said, Tupperware, napkins, forks, salt, pepper, the whole. It's just a contained package. It has its flavor. I'm done. Okay, you got anything like that, or you want to wait?
That's one I'm going to have to come back on.
Okay, we'll come back.
I'll come up with something.
Ladies and gentlemen, give us a call if you got some wonder food out there that I can drive around with. Let me know. 254-697-6633. Staples, keeping staples on hand, like rice, beans, flour, potatoes, milk, and oil. Let's talk about what they are and they do for you compared to canned and maybe dried types of stuff.
Well, staples are typically dried. As you mentioned, rice, beans, flour, oil, milk. Those are the ones that you typically want to keep on hand. These are the items that you're going to come back to again and again. As I mentioned earlier, we had chicken and dumplings, let's say that for lunch. That meal is completely made of staples, vegetables, and chicken. I mean, you have your oil and your flour for your roux, and you just mix that with milk to make your sauce, along with that chicken broth that you had from earlier week's meal, and suddenly you have everything made from staples. So they come in handy, definitely.
Are the staples like chicken? Is it chicken an expensive food to get?
Absolutely not. But here's the thing. If you are the kind of person who goes for pre-prepped items, it might cost you a little bit more versus fabricating that meat yourself.
Clarify, break that down what you mean, because I'm
Yes.
picturing I got chicken legs all in a package. Is that what
All
you
right.
mean?
So fabrication is basically when you have a product that you are breaking down. So for instance, a whole chicken versus buying chicken breast and chicken thighs, so on and so forth. So you're pretty much making those cuts yourself. So that's going to save you plenty of money. The only thing is that you're paying for the convenience of the fact that it's already done for you.
I'm going to throw this out here. Answer it if you can. So if I got a whole chicken, and I bought that as comparing to 2 packaged chicken halves, and I add the 2 together, I'm going to come out with spending more money on 2 chicken halves packaged.
Absolutely.
Okay, there you go. I mean, it's obvious, but if you don't say it, you may screw it up, right?
Yeah.
What about milk? If somebody's on a budget, they may not like it as much, but will you get more milk out of powdered milk than buying it? Liquid milk?
I actually don't use powdered milk. I've never used the product. I prefer just having liquid milk on hand.
I would
So
assume,
I actually don't have an
that-
answer for that one.
Okay. I got her. Okay, let's see here. Use what you have. Research alternative products in a pinch. Check your fridge before you shop.
Yes. So
Wait, let me give you an example of what most guys do. They open up the door and they stand there and they look and they wait for the food to jump out in front of them. So
you are going to have to actively look in your fridge to make sure that you have items before you go to the
but
store.
I don't want to move the milk container. It should move itself.
It will save you money, I guarantee it. I've done this plenty of times where, I just assume I have butter at home and I go to the grocery store and it turns out I didn't have butter because it was, I'm thinking, oh, it's behind the milk. Check.
Okay.
With that being said, with that research, look at alternatives. So, for instance, instead of going out and buying ground chuck or ground beef, look into alternatives such as turkey burgers. Turkey is substantially cheaper than, ground beef or venison or whatever you may want to make your burgers out of. Really funny story. When I say research alternatives, I really mean it. I mean, Pinterest is like my go-to all the time. Really funny, and I swear my family loved these. I was making chocolate chip cookies and realized that I didn't have any eggs. And of course, I was a little short on money, so I couldn't be bothered to go to the store to get eggs. My culinary research kind of kicked in there and told me to use mayonnaise.
Really?
Really. Because when you think about it, all mayonnaise really is eggs and oil.
Wow, look at you.
Right. So do your research.
That's like me when I want to make soup. I get a bottle of ketchup and add some water to it.
Hey, whatever
I've done
stretch
it,
your
buddy.
dollar,
I've done
right?
it. I've done it, and for dessert, I had sliced grapes.
Also, with that being said, before you make those trips to the store, not only do you want to search your pantry and your refrigerator, make sure not to go to the store hungry. A lot of the times we go to the store because we're hungry, and it usually leads into us just buying things that we necessarily don't need or that we're just kind of craving in the moment. I mean, I've done it several times where I've spent hundreds of dollars and I can't even tell you what I bought.
So if you don't, what we should do is say if you don't search your pantry, you should search hers, right?
More or less.
That was bad. Okay, let's keep
Well, you
moving.
get in there.
I mean, even if you're going to the store because there's no food in the house, I mean, it's no big deal to stop for a bite to eat, on your way to the store so that you're not craving everything when you get there.
Okay, this one was pretty wild here. Not wild, but very good. Buying seasonally, saving on seasonal things. Would that be like farmer produce stands on the side of the road, things like that?
No, actually, no. A lot of stores actually do sell seasonal produce. Currently, you'd be looking at things like corn, squash, peaches, melons, berries. So things that are currently in summer, late summer. We're getting ready to roll into August here, so you'll still be looking for things such as squash and pumpkins. So just once again, that has a lot to do with research and just knowing what to buy seasonally. A lot of times, grocery stores will actually have those items for sale, if not cheaper, because they're passing those savings on to you. On top of that, most times whenever you're buying seasonal produce, it's typically sourced locally because of the fact that it's seasonal.
So how big are the savings on doing seasonal items?
It really does depend on the item. However, for instance, with berries, they're currently about $2 for, I'd say, maybe a pint. Mm-hmm. So that's a big saving versus the $5 that I would typically spend on those same berries in the middle of winter or in spring.
Sure. Let's talk about don't be afraid to go generic.
Yes.
A lot of the same ingredients and companies make these items, right?
Yes. So with that, looking at a generic brand versus a high dollar brand or name brand as they're called, turning those items over, you'll often see that they're usually made with the same ingredients. And I'll let you in on a little secret here. It's a lot of competition that deals with the same companies that are making those products.
Well, you just gotta talk to a person like this to know all this, unless you're smarter than I, which is not difficult to do. So this is great. I'm so glad you're on here. What about plan what you're going to eat before going to the store? Choose products you can use in multiple dishes.
Absolutely. With that being said, usually before you go to the store, just make a list of what you're going to eat. Notice I didn't say what you're going to buy, because a lot of times we tend to buy things just because of the fact that we realize that they're missing in our kitchen, but they tend to spoil or go bad, and we end up wasting our money. I've done it plenty of times where I say, oh, well, I need chicken breast, so I'll go out and buy the chicken breast and not use it, and it'll sit in my refrigerator and spoil because of the fact that I didn't plan what meal I was going to do with that product. My rule of thumb is about 3 days for a product. If you don't plan on, using it or freezing it within 3 days, don't get it.
Okay. When you said spoil, is there any particular shade of green you should not eat?
Oh my God. Definitely depends on the product. I mean, if we're talking cheese molds. I mean, I've done it where, you just take the moldy part of the cheese off, but that definitely doesn't go for all products.
I figured I'd ask you. How about eating less meat and replacing it with proteins, eggs, beans, all that? Tell us about that.
So I know America's heart kind of hurt when they heard that one. Eat less meat. Yeah. But we honestly eat a lot of meat in this country, especially red meat. So once on that, I mean, you can even go fish if that's a little cheaper for you.
Yeah, but Janay, what I noticed when I was growing up, my family wasn't that well to do. You had to stretch things out.
Right.
They would get a leg of lamb, for example, and cut it, down to the bone, use the bone marrow, but they'd have a bed of rice with little sprinkles of meat on it.
Right.
Just enough to get the flavor.
Exactly. And utilize the entire product that you have. I mean, like Matt just said, use the bones, make your own stock, use that meat, stretch it over several meals if you can. Meatless dishes. I mean, my mentor, Miss Kelly Carvillas, she loves eggplant lasagna. We actually have that on our school website. I'll tell you about that in a second. But you can also load up on veggies to replace that meat. Mushrooms are a great meat replacement because of the fact that they're so savory. I actually just learned about jackfruit. Jackfruit is a savory yet just slightly sweet product item that you can use in place of meat, but it's very hearty.
What is it called?
Jackfruit.
Jackfruit.
Yes.
What is it? Where does it come from?
It's a tropical fruit. I know that much. However, I haven't gotten enough research in to know, 100% about the product.
So
it's definitely something I'm still...
literally a fruit?
Yes. It is considered a fruit, yes.
Interesting. Okay, this one's interesting. Make meals you can eat twice. Is that because I cooked it and it comes up and you got to just do it again? Or what are you talking about?
No, not at all. Repurpose your leftovers. I know people are going to get sick of eating the same thing for more than one day, or more than, the 2, maybe 3, 4, 5 days. We've been at Thanksgiving, we know. But just take those items and look for other things to do with it. I mean, for instance, with turkey, I'll touch on that since, we're talking about Thanksgiving. With my turkey, I'll break that down. We can make roasted sandwiches. You can go back to making casseroles, all sorts of different items with that one item.
Now, you can't always get everything out the bone, so what do? Use that for soups and stuff?
Yeah, I would use it for soups, definitely. Excuse me. With your chicken, for instance, if you made a roasted chicken that day, use those drumsticks and wings that you roasted, pair them up with some chicken and veggies, maybe. You can do different things with your chicken thigh, for instance. You can probably cut those up into, tacos, if you did something earlier with them in the week. So just kind of mix it up so your family doesn't get too tired of you.
Sounds like a great idea. How about producing food yourself?
Producing food yourself is what I live for. You want to stay away from luxury items. Earlier I had mentioned, fabricating your own meats, but it's not only based on that. It can also be those pre-cut vegetables that you see in the grocery store. I mean, we have tutorials. You can always go to YouTube if you're just in doubt of how to cut an onion.
Gosh, that's a saving grace, YouTube. It's amazing.
I mean, I've definitely gone to YouTube if I'm second guessing myself or just need a refresher on something. There's no shame in it.
All right, we talked about this thing, I believe, staying away from luxury items, any prep store items, chopped onions, fabricated meats. We've already talked about that. So what about don't buy things on a whim? A purchase, we talked about that too, didn't we?
Yes.
Okay. So did you come up with any ideas as to what I can use to drive with?
Absolutely not.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is perfect timing because this gives me a little bit of time left before the end of the show. But I'll tell you, you just covered a whole bunch of stuff, which is great information. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have this up as a YouTube video. It'll be on my Facebook page as well, probably, I'm guessing, by Tuesday. And you can always go back there and check it out and listen to Janay explaining these things. And you can expand upon it from there and get a topic that she's discussed and maybe research it on YouTube and expand upon it if you're not familiar with it. There's a lot of people out there who are pretty savvy when it comes to cooking, doing old school stuff. And there's a lot of people who are just learning and may be able to utilize this on a limited income. So, Janay, I want to tell you thank you very much for coming on short notice. Short notice, literally short notice, and she whipped all this information out right in a way as I was speaking before she got on. She did a fantastic job.
Well, thank you.
So, Janay, I want to thank you very much. Any plug out there you want to push?
Absolutely. You can visit us at thecultivatedclassroom.com. If you have any questions for me, feel free to send me an email, noodlesv2@yahoo.com. I'm always open. I love answering and helping those people out there who have questions. So
Get that address one more time.
noodlesv2@yahoo.com.
Noodlesv2?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. Thanks for coming on, and I'll be seeing you around. Trey, let's take a 1 minute break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up the show, ladies and gentlemen. Give me something. Give me music. Give me
power.
There we go.
Sometimes you just need more.